to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize. And today's guest is someone who has been walking her purpose long before the spotlight found her. She's an entrepreneur, author, motivational speaker, and the founder of Dorian Inspires LLC. But more importantly, she's a woman who's dedicated her life to building confidence, character, and clarity in the next generation. With over 20 years in healthcare leadership and HR and 19 published books, many focused on empowering children and equipping parents and educators. She understands what it means to prepare people not just for success, but for life. She's also someone I'm proud to call a friend since high school, which makes today's conversation especially meaningful. Please welcome to the show my guest and my friend, Dorian Stewart.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, yes. Well, like I said, we've known each other since high school, so it's been a
Which was
long
like last year, which was like last
yeah,
year,
yeah.
as you know.
But no, it's great to have you on the show. I've been looking forward to this since we set this up.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. So let's start it off. So what moments from your childhood shaped your heart for empowering kids?
Ooh, I'd have to say, growing up in Brooklyn and I didn't just live with my parents because, my aunt lived in the basement. I had another aunt that lived down the road. I had cousins.
Yeah,
And so my grandmother also lived, in the same neighborhood. There was always stories and things, and she was always taking care of kids. Me being one of the oldest in my set, that by default means I'm taking care of the younger kids and cousins. And it just kind of began that love for wanting, um, to see kids thrive. And even as I was in like youth activities at my church, and then growing up being a counselor, I then realized the stories and the lessons that my parents taught me, my aunts, my uncles, all of those things. I was like, wow, man, those stories weren't just nagging stories. They were things that I could share with the younger generation. So it just began that love for wanting to kind of share positive affirmations and see them kind of strive.
yeah, absolutely. So how did your healthcare and HR background influence the way you see confidence and preparation?
My mom wanted me to be a nurse. That wasn't happening. I didn't do well in our high school biology because I wasn't cutting the frog.
Yeah.
I just wasn't doing it. So I realized I do like healthcare and I did like business. And again, being one of the oldest in my family and amongst a set, I'm kind of a little bossy. So I decided I wanted to healthcare management. And I would interview people and I was like, ooh, ugh, that was bad. Or certain things that they would do or not say that I was like, oh, no, you didn't get this job, And I used to kind of just casually write things on Facebook. Like I had an interview today and this person came with 16 pages of a resume and only had 1 year of experience. And then she put it with multiple colors on each page. Purple, pink, blue. And I was like, ooh, it dawned on me after a while that they just don't know. And I was like, maybe I need to write books that will empower them, kind of guide them and teach them so that I took that information and kind of put it in a funny book, but really just a way to kind of help young people, high school students as they're getting ready for college, how to interview. I've seen enough and I was just like, maybe I can't necessarily keep making fun of them if they don't know. So now once you know and you still mess up, then the gloves are off, but I at least have to try and help.
So when did you realize your calling extended beyond the workplace?
Ooh. Um so I think that's a good question. But I think happened was, I was stressed at work. This was like years ago, and I started writing these little short, funny daily devotionals, and I would send it out to a couple of friends, not realizing that my friends were sending it to their coworkers, and what turned out to be maybe 10 or 20 friends, I ended up sending it to like 200 people daily,
Wow.
encouraging them kind of daily, like, "Hey, this is what I noticed," and kinda just empowering them. And before I knew it, people kept saying, "You should put this in a book," and I was like, "I'm not an author. I can't do that. That's not my calling."
Yeah.
Realizing that I was being prepared for that. And then once, my husband and we adopted our daughter, um, we decided that I would stay home and take care of her, but even beyond that, I wanted her as an adoptee and as children to realize their potential or her potential, and so I started writing books encouraging children and kind of writing to people to just let them know that, "Hey, you can be whatever you wanna be," and I know that sounds very cliche and like a commercial, but even more so, parents, here's how we can do that. Here's how we can be successful in doing that. So it kind of morphed into that, not realizing that even before I got married, which I'm married now 10 years, that it was something that I was kind of being prepared for all along.
But before we go on, somebody who always a friend of the show, Tony, he came by. He said, "Merry Christmas to me and you." Merry Christmas, Tony. Thank you for
Hey,
stopping by
hey,
and
Tony.
always showing support, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So what did younger you need to hear that you now give to others?
Ooh, what did the younger me need to hear? I think the younger me, um, I didn't see myself as an author, and I will say once I got to college, um, I didn't do well in English. I'm just gonna be honest. I did not do well in English. I was barely making it. Like, I scraped on getting a C in English once I got to college, and I was just like, "Writing's not for me." Even though I enjoyed sharing stories and writing, my English teachers, so that younger me was like, "Writing's not for you.
Yeah.
Your degree needs to be something else other than being an author or a writer." And I think to the younger self, it's even though you went through those hardships of getting a C, and most days it looked more like a D and a F throughout the semester, it was preparing me for something, but to like, hey, this is not this is not the end of your story, right? That there's so much more. And I closed the door on writing, not realizing that, hey, you're allowed pivots, you're allowed to grow, and the fears and even the things that didn't work, me barely passing English and not just one semester or two. I mean, like I was
Oh yeah, no, no. Listen, I published my first book this year, right? My own personal book, and then I helped this young lady publish her children's book. Mine's is
yeah,
not is more mine's more motivational and it's so. But if you would have told me 5 years ago when I started, I would have written a book this year. I would have been like, "You out your mind? I'm not an author. I'm not. That's not something that I was." It was in the back of my. It
yeah,
was nothing like I helped my nephew publish his book,
yeah.
and when we paid a pretty penny to get it out there, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, man, I'm not doing this again. So I started learning how to self publish,
Same
which
here.
which which I do now, like because it's expensive if you want to get an editor, to get someone to proofread, someone to go check everything, and so I was like, nah, I'm gonna learn this myself, and that's what I did, and in the process, I've discovered that I do have something to say, and I
Yeah.
do have words to put on there. So
And I think it's important to know that even for your younger self, don't close the door on something, right?
Mhm.
You can, or at least don't lock the door. You can put a pause on it, but when your purpose is calling, or when there's something that you are called to do, even if you don't see it at that time, it's going to come out. You know what I mean? You didn't see yourself writing books. I didn't see myself writing books. And yet somehow you're kind of like called into that purpose. And so it's don't close the door, don't lock the door on those purpose, because it's going to come.
Well, the title of my book is The Power of Purpose, right? Because because it's been something since I started the podcast that I've discovered my purpose. Like I've discovered that I'm here to serve others. That with my podcast and my platform and everything that I'm doing, it's to help and uplift others.
Yep.
And so being able and it like I tell everybody, look, it took me 44 years to discover what my purpose was, right? Because when we were growing up, we don't know anything about what purpose is or what are we supposed to be doing,
No.
and I didn't have a clue. Like I didn't like I have a good paying job, and we come from go to school, work, retire, whatever. We don't learn about what our purpose truly is in this world. And when I started podcasting, and I realized that I have a voice, I have something to offer people more than whatever I was that I was doing,
Mhm.
it really sunk in, and it was like, man, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my purpose.
See? Look at
Being able
that.
to serve others, being able to uplift others, having these conversations with someone like yourself and other coaches and entrepreneurs and in these 5 years, I've learned so much and grown so much personally,
Mhm.
right? So now my goal is to help uplift others and help them grow and learn. And so I've launched my media company, so I help publish books. I help people. I'm working on right now. I'm actually in the process of doing my beta test for helping people launch their podcast, and so all the
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so all these different things have come from starting just launching the podcast. Like
Mhm.
this, just doing this has led me to launching an internet radio station, like launching the publishing company, launching my production company. All this from me stepping out of my comfort zone and
Mhm.
making myself uncomfort and doing something that I like. I'm not in media. I wasn't on the radio. This wasn't something that it was just like, yo, I want to start a podcast. And it took me a year to start it, but when
But you did it. You
when
did it.
when I finally got the courage, I just went, you know what? Let me do this. And
Yep.
since then it's been a wonderful mission. It's been a wonderful journey, and just like I said, I'm just learning constantly every day. Just something new,
And
working on myself every day.
And the amazing thing is that you've had some ups and downs, some pros and cons, some, "Hey, I'll never do this again," like, kind of mistakes,
Mhm.
and when you train someone else in the process, the great part about it is that you're allowing them to now get through the process quicker and more
Mhm.
efficient, and things that they're like, "Hey, I'm thinking of, I don't know, buying these, I'm thinking of using my phone for podcasts," which is fine,
Yeah.
but here's where I think you should invest. And here's what I did, and I wouldn't recommend it. So now you get a chance to bring your expertise, your experience into your training, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. And now I have a setup. Yeah, I've invested in myself. I've invested in a quality mic. I've invested in a proper mixer. I've invested in different softwares to help with everything that I'm doing.
Mhm.
And but yeah, like you said, you can start with your phone. It's a beginning. Like just start. People just don't know where to start. Listen, we have so much in the phone that you can do so much with it. Like, yeah, you can do a podcast from your phone. You
Phones
can
are
do it
not just for talking, not for calling.
not like in our times where we had to deal with rotary phones and all that. So yeah.
You're really gonna date us today, right? You
Yeah,
just
we did. So why is confidence such a missing piece for kids and young adults today?
so it's missing because the things that they watch, the things that parents don't know to say, that kind of the kids are losing that confidence. So they watch certain things, and their shows that they watch don't necessarily kind of show that, hey, you are amazing, or the gifts that you currently have are going to be something that's going to really take you beyond um just, right now. And so, and sometimes as parents, we don't even know to say, hey, I noticed that you're doing this or that. Keep doing it. You're doing amazing at it. Keep going. And so kids grow up being afraid to do something or try something. And so it becomes part of their, kind of fear. The very gift or the very thing that they were given to share to the world or kind of expand on, they are hesitant about kind of sharing it because, again, between TV and what we don't say as parents or as adults, tends to that um cause that confidence. And so writing books where parents now either read to their children, start that conversation with their children is going to be very, very important. So for m- our daughter, she's 4, right? Yes, I started late in life, but she's 4. It is, I see where at times she has some amazing skills or some amazing gifts, but she's like, "Oh no, I'm afraid someone's going to laugh at me," or "I'm afraid." And so it is our responsibility to not just say, "Well, do it when you're ready," but to then pour back into our children, regardless of their age, to say, hey, listen, this gift is going to be amazing. I want you to keep practicing at what you're doing, and be honest, say, hey, I like what you did here. I want you to build on this. Let's not, give them kind of false hope that, it's great, but that, what we see in you is going to be so amazing. And if you keep at it, you're going to do great things with it. I think that's how it's going to build confidence, and it kind of helps to kind of diffuse what they're seeing, whether it be in classrooms with bullies or things that they see on TV. That's going to help to kind of change the narrative for them.
And it's a different time, especially with bullying, right? Because back in the days when us, right, once we left school, the bullying was done, right? Now with social media and all this
All over the
technology and everything, like you kids getting bullied all day, every day,
Yeah.
and it's sad. Like it's crazy that that's it's gone to that. But like I said, when we were growing up, yeah, there was some bullies, and it ended at school or whatever. You had to whatever had happened. But now it's like again, 24 hours. Like they can put something on Instagram about you or put it. It's just like
And
so.
it's then being liked and repost, and it almost never dies. The bullying, even as everyone goes to bed, you're still like, "Oh my goodness, someone just liked this, bad picture of me or bad interpretation of me," and it just keeps going. We didn't have that, at the end of the day, sometimes, you either have your big brother or sister handle it,
Yeah,
or even figuring out a way to kind of stay away from that person, and it helped to diffuse it. You don't even have to be in the classroom with that person or near that person to still feel that bullying even at home, like you said.
yeah, absolutely. So, so what really inspired you to write the children's book instead of just speaking to adults?
So it was my daughter. It was, going through the adoption, and we were required to take a lot of classes. And they teach you about some of the feelings that kids who are adopted kind of go through. They feel rejected, they feel unchosen. Many adoptees, they they don't like their birthday. They think the birthday to them is the day that their birth parent, didn't care for them and gave them up. And so reading through that and going through the classes and the lessons, it was like, babe, whenever we get our child, I'm gonna write a book. I thought I was only gonna write one book. Somehow we get to 19. But I was gonna write one book to let our child know that they're chosen and cherished, and that they were not a mistake, and that even for her birth parents made a decision out of love to have us adopt her. And so that was my goal. And then somehow it kind of, like I said, morphed into, but that's what actually started me writing books. And then something about it was like, hey, this book is not just going to be for your daughter. And so at the end of all my books, I say it out loud, I am made to be amazing, or I am made to be unstoppable. Or if it's my faith base, with God, I am chosen and cherished. So it really was to then try and get kids to kind of say the affirmations, say the positive affirmations, so that they kind of feel it, and kind of shout it if they have to, so they can then believe it.
And it's funny that you mentioned affirmations because that's something I purposely did at the beginning of this year, right? One of the things that I said it was that I wanted to improve my relationship with God, and I wanted to work on my affirmations and everything. And since that time, like things have just morphed and kind of like started falling into place. Like opportunities started opening up, and relationships started forming, and and all of it. I say it all happened the moment I decided that I was going to work on myself and my relationship with God. Did that mean I was going to go to church every Sunday? No, it just meant that I just wanted to speak to the Lord much more frequently than I was at the time.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's really been a blessing to do that, and to be able to just feel just the feeling that I get right from every morning when I get up and I say my words and I might meditate and I do everything that I have to do. It just transforms my day every day. It's just so much more meaningful every day for me now.
Mhm. Even for my daughter, when we get up, yeah, we wake her up. Um, she gets up and she says her prayers, but there are two things that we do before she walks out the door. One, she says, with God, I am strong, I am smart, I am amazing, and then we also, I have like an affirmation jar for her. And so she can't read, but she does pull out something like a paper out of it. And there is an affirmation in there, and then she has to spell it, and then I tell her what the word is. So if it's today, I am brave, she's spelling Brave, and I'm saying, today you're going to be brave. And if she says, what does that mean, then we're going to talk about that before we send her off to school. But all of those small affirmations, all of those things that really pouring into our children and pouring even into ourselves, like you said, I need to also know that, hey, today I am going to be amazing. I am going to make a purpose or a difference in somebody else's life, in my own life. Those things you have to kind of speak into yourself, so that you kind of already set the tone for what purpose you're going to do for the day. So that's great that you do that. And I think it's important that more adults do it, kids do it, even more so kids need it as they go through life.
Oh no, absolutely. I One of the things I say is we talk to ourselves so bad, right? We like just some of the things that we say to ourselves, like, "Oh, I'm so stupid," or whatever it is. Just whatever these comments are that are negative, and
Mhm.
it's the negative self talk. Like you have to really start focusing on how you speak to yourself. Like
Exactly.
it's crazy that we don't allow other people to talk to us in a certain way, but we talk to ourselves a certain way, and
That is
we
so
don't realize
true.
that, and we don't realize that. Just like the way you allow someone else to disrespect you, you shouldn't allow yourself to disrespect yourself.
That is
So
so
you need
true.
to really focus on how you speak to yourself and what is it that you're saying to yourself on a daily basis.
Yep, it is so true. It is so true. I like that, and I think I'm gonna somehow put that into my daughter's words, because sometimes she's like, "Oh, I can," and I'm like, "You wouldn't let anybody else say you can't, so now you got to
Mhm.
stop doing it for yourself." I like that. That is amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. You can use it. That's fine.
I'll tell her my friend Will gave it to me.
Okay, so what mistakes do parents and educators unknowingly make when trying to protect kids?
I think we protect them a little too much from not allowing them to do things. So, for the sake of speed, we may want to do something because, hey, um, you know, buttoning. I'm going to give something very simple. buttoning a shirt. I can do it faster, right? Because of time, of life. I want to keep it moving. And we tend to hover and say, let mommy or daddy help you with the buttoning of the shirt. Now, you put that into any context you want, but by us kind of taking some of that learning skills, the ability to fail and keep trying, or finding their own unique way of buttoning the shirt or whatever that may be, we tend to take away from their learning. And I remember doing that to my daughter. I was like, "Hey, I could do this faster." And she was like, "No, mommy, I
Yeah.
can do this." Now, granted, it did take her longer, but now she knows how to do it. And
Mhm.
I think as parents, as educators, we want them to grasp it quickly, forgetting that we ourselves had to go through a process of learning something or doing something a certain way or differently from how our parents or grandparents did something. And so we tend to take that from them, and then they're growing up not knowing how to do certain things, whatever that may be. Now I'm using the button of the shirt, but it can be
Oh,
anything.
no. Listen, I am not a fan of participation trophies, right? Because let's be let I'm not, because I think you should, like, if especially when it comes to sports, right? Like, if okay, if it's okay if you lose, because it just makes you want to come back harder next time. Like, that's how I took it, like, growing up. If
But if we always celebrate the losing,
yes,
they
that
don't
then they
understand.
accustomed, then they get accustomed to it.
Yeah,
That's my issue with the participation
yeah.
trophies, right? Is that if you don't show them that life is, you take loss, you
Wins
take
and
L,
losses.
yeah,
Yeah.
you take L's in life.
Then they become sore losers.
Yeah,
Right? So my daughter, she sometimes we do race, and I I don't let her win all the time. And so she then has to learn to say congratulations winner, right?
yeah,
She's 4 and she has to learn that. When I lose to her, I tell her, "Congratulations, winner," because now I'm teaching her not to be a sore loser. I don't want her to go off and cry and stomp, and so she has to learn that in life there are going to be some wins and some losses. And if I'm only shielding her and allowing her to always see the winning, she's going to be a poor sore loser as an adult. Nobody wants that.
yeah.
You can handle it as a kid, but if you see a poor loser as a sore loser as an adult, it's really embarrassing.
It is. It is. So Tony's on fire out here. He's dropping. He's like, spoken word is key. He also says most people allow other people to talk to answer them instead of listening. He also mentions that skinned up needs and social interactions with education is a must. It is. It is.
Yeah,
And competitive nature is a good thing. It is.
it is.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Tony. That is true. So, what's the deeper message behind how not to get hired? Because we were talking about that before,
Yeah.
when people didn't know how they were coming with the crazy resumes and multicolor resumes and everything. How?
So so the how not to get hired is really, hey, if you want to get hired, there are simple mistakes that people make that pretty much puts them in the not hired list. Whether it is showing up late for the interview, not having anything to say, not dressing for the business culture of the job that you're applying for, all of these, what we think are small mistakes, to a hiring manager means so much more. So I'm going to give the example of showing up 5 minutes late. 5 minutes late is not a big deal, right? But to a hiring manager, that means that you are not going to come to work on time. For me, working in healthcare, if the clinic opens at 8 o'clock and I have a string of patients ready to be seen and you're already 5 to 10 minutes late, that means the patients are late. The next patient, by the time we get to lunchtime, the doctor's not getting a lunch because now we have a backlog, and everything, the domino effect affects that. So, as a hiring manager, and these little small mistakes, we look at it as so much bigger. And when you make mistakes or you don't say something or you do something, those things, we think of it as even bigger mistakes and how that's going to affect the job. If we ask you, why are you looking to come and work here, and you begin to tell me more about your lazy boss or your coworkers don't have any integrity and I'm doing all the work there and I'm tired of it, you think that means I have integrity and that I am not lazy and I'm the hard worker, right? But to a manager, a hiring manager, that says you're going to spend more time in the break room talking about drama and not doing the work that I paid you for. Or you're going to, just like how you just dogged out your current or old job, you're gonna do the same to us because no job is perfect. And those little things tell us that you're not someone we want to hire. And so we avoid those things. And so those little small things are that's why it's called How Not to Get Hired. The interesting about the book is that I kind of give and share those details about little small things that you do is and how much bigger it looks to the hiring manager. And then what most books won't do is tell you you realize you make the mistake, you recognize it. Here's how a hiring manager would like to see you recover with this mistake. So you showed up late, you need to let me know. I apologize. This is not a reflection of me. I want you to know that if you were to give me a chance, I am going to be on time. You know what I mean? So to reinstate what or the skills that you really say you have. So that's kind of the thing. And then also I also share affirmations because again, when you do make that mistake, you're like, "Oh man, it's over." It may not be over. Allow yourself more time. Begin to talk about your skills or your experience, even though you showed up 5 minutes late or whatever it may be, so that maybe they'll consider to give you a second chance. So there's affirmations again in every chapter that even though you make a mistake on this particular mistake or issue, hey, keep going. There's a reason why we brought you into the interview. Most people don't realize that if we bring you in for an interview, you're about 55, 65% hired. We just want to make sure that the paper matches the person in front of us. And most times it doesn't. And so then it's like, we're not going to hire that person.
So Tony said, honesty and complete eye contact.
Yeah,
That's important as well.
it is. It is. Because we are going to check your references. We are going to do the background check. And, depending on the role, most places we do a lot of networking, right? So I may work for one particular organization, but I may have interned somewhere else and know someone who's working at the job that you went to, right? So we're going to check. We're going to do the reference checkers. We're going to do those things. The other thing that people should know is that if we do hire you after making those mistakes, even though you may be worth a certain amount, we're not going to pay you that. We're going to pay you less because we're not sure if we're going to spend more time having to do verbal counseling and write ups because you're late or talking to you about spending more time gossiping and spending more time in the break room than should be doing the job.
Yeah,
And so we're not going to pay you what you're worth because we didn't see that in the interview.
absolutely. Yeah. So, how does faith shape the way you teach purpose and preparation?
Whew, how does faith? So for me, I have been a Christian all my life. When I went to college, I decided to test my faith, and I said, "My parents are not around. I'm gonna see if this is, what I want to, is this something that I truly believe in?" So yes, I've been a Christian all my life, but when I went to college is when I truly became a Christian because I got a chance to decide for myself what I wanted to do. Um, and how that shaped is that I've always trusted God in a lot of things. Some of the books that I've written, I was like, oh, God, I don't know if this is the book that I really need to write, or I'm questioning whether or not I should write it. And there have been times where it's been very clear, you need to write this book. And I've seen after I've done it that, oh wow, I see why. Either people are coming to me and saying, you don't realize that this book was the book I needed to get through with my family on this. Or even I wrote a book on grief, and I did not want to write this book on grief. It's for children. And I kept thinking, like, grief, it doesn't fit into what I thought my book should look like, what the series should look like. And I kept being gnawed on, like, I was like, you need to write this book, not realizing that the book is going to help me and my family, and having to explain to my daughter and my nieces, my young nieces and nephews, about grief, and even helping them and and, like, kind of go through the 5 stages of grief for children. And I've seen the hand of God kind of move through that, like, hey, write this book. I don't think I want to write this book, and kind of seeing that.
Listen, I'm one who's dealt with grief. Even I share with my mom passing away, but it really hit me in '08, right?
Mhm.
My wife passed away in a car accident, and I was lost. I was very self destructive. It was like I didn't know what to do with my life. Like I had lost my best friend,
Mhm.
and so I I I, I admit it wasn't the best time for me because it was like it was just like one tragedy after another. Like I reunited with my dad after 28 years. A year after my wife passed away,
Wow.
I go see him for the first time for Father's Day week, and I arrived to Puerto Rico Friday.
Mhm.
Saturday morning, he passes away. So it was like '08, I lose my wife. '09, I reunite with my dad. I lose him. The following year, I bury my brother and my uncle. Then a year after that, I bury my other brother that I reunited from my father's side. He ODs, and then I bury my aunt that played the. So at that point, I was angry. I was angry. I was like, God, why me? Why
Mhm.
why do you? It was like, why do you hate me so much? Why me? Why is this happening to me?
Mhm.
And so I was very self destructive, self medicating, drinking. Was just headed down the wrong path.
Mhm.
And so this voice was like, "This isn't you. This isn't your path. This isn't
Mhm.
what you're supposed to be doing." So I listened to that voice,
Mhm.
sought help, got therapy, started turning my life around. I meet my wife that I'm with now, and things is just like once I decided to get out of the negative zone and really start focusing on getting back into self development because that was something my first wife introduced me to was the world of self development. I didn't know about reading certain books to help me because that's not where we're from. That's not like we're taught go to school, go get education, get a job, and retire. We're not taught that hey, we need to continuously grow and learn constantly. That's not where we're from. And so when when she introduced me to that, it kind of I think that was her way of preparing me for what was to come.
Mm.
And so like I said, I turned my life around. I'm remarried, got a beautiful wife, and it's just it was like all right, this needs to be shared. Like my story needs to be shared with people. The my experiences. Like there's someone who's out there who's lost someone and don't know how to deal with it.
Yep.
And at first I didn't know how to deal with it.
Mhm.
But if my example can help someone else avoid the pitfalls and everything that I had to go through,
Mhm.
then that's what I'm supposed to do.
And think about all the things that you went through, and just like you said, you're going to help somebody else. You were dealing with this as an adult, right?
Mhm. To
Over
imagine a child.
18, definitely, right? Now imagine a child having to go through losing their loved one, grandpa, uncle, whatever, whoever that may be, and they don't know that anger is part of the stages
Mhm.
of grief, and being sad, or even bargaining, like, hey, and for a child, you think about it, if you bring so and so back, I'll clean my room every day, right? Because from their mindset, that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And so if they don't know that, yes, these are the stages that you're going to go through, and at some point there's going to be acceptance, and there's going to be a point where you're going to be able to take all those stages and be able to either help somebody else through it, or even just have a support group around it. A little kid doesn't understand that. And so I think, thinking about children in that process of even looking at grief, um, they're also going through also their own kid-like destruction, whether it's now talking back or hitting or being angry, and they don't know why, because they're not able to process that this is because I am angry or due to I'm grieving. They don't even know that word. And so it's so important that the things that you go through and the things that you share on this podcast and other people who may be going through that, we also have to remember that there's a little kid out there who may be going through something very similar and don't know how to process it too. And so that's why I wrote books like this, because they go through they're living in a big society with a small body. They don't know the words. They don't know the emotions. And unless someone like us as adults are there to be able to help guide them through those emotions, those big emotions, they grow up to have these emotions and not knowing how to properly address it. Now, even for me, I did not know how to address those big emotions. um, I most times kept it bottled in. But now, as I've learned from it, it's time that we teach our kids and we teach young people the understanding of grief, and then understand that there comes a point of acceptance and support and helping someone else through it. So,
Yeah. So what does confident, purpose driven what does a confident, purpose driven generation actually look like to you?
ooh, that's a good one. What does that look like? Um, I think um it looks like through the ups and downs that we are able to self-regulate. It is being able to support one another through their endeavors. It means not only seeing yourself as the only winner, and this is not the participation trophy. This is, hey, I appreciate you winning, and I am not going to be jealous for someone else also writing books or doing a podcast, but actually congratulating them and supporting them through their gift and their endeavors, because you're confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, and it's unique to you and no one else can do that. They can try and copy, but you still are unique in that you're going to always evolve, and be confident that you can still support someone and congratulate someone. You don't have to be the only author out there. You don't have to be the only podcast person out there, but that you can help someone and guide them to also win in their life and their journey as well. I think that's what it looks like to me. And if we teach our kids and we encourage our young people and support adults, that's what I think it looks like in a world. I
So
hope we get to that someday.
yeah, hopefully in our generation, definitely.
Yeah.
So what's one habit families can implement immediately to build confidence?
Um, I'm gonna say, so it depends on the age, but if you have young kids, positive affirmations, whether it be a affirmation jar, speaking life, kind of sharing positive things and being truthful about it. If your kid is not an artist, don't go around lying to them. Find the goal or find the thing, the gift,
Find what he's
and
good at. Yeah, find what he's
find
good
what
at.
they're good at, and then cultivate that gift. If they're in their teens, um, you should have already seen some gifts. Even when they have some bad habits that you want to modify, there are ways that you can use positive affirmation to cultivate the positives and kind of bring down the negatives in those gifts. And even for our young adults as they're getting into college, again, there are ways, because even as adults, we want accolades, we want applause. We want to be able to know that we're moving in the right direction with the goal or the gift or the purpose that we're given. In every walk of life, from children to seniors, they want the same. And so it's important that, whether it's an affirmation jar or pouring into them, finding books that are going to really build their gift. If you know your kid is good at writing, or you know your kid is good at singing, don't stifle that gift. Allow for them to then move into those gifts. You may not feel that writing is what you want your child to do. I don't think that, if you're seeing that gift being kind of evolved, encourage that and let them see what they can be with that gift. Don't stifle it and say, well, singing is not going to bring home any food or put food on the table. There's
Yeah.
so many ways that they can take their gift of singing. And it doesn't always have to end up being a pop star. It doesn't mean that they have to win a Grammy for their singing. They can use it in so many different ways and still be successful in it. And I think it's important that we kind of cultivate that gift. So that's you know.
So how can adults model confidence without pretending to be perfect? Just
I think, no, it's a good question. I think, as adults, I I try to walk away from the perfection part, and I try to be the best that I can be. Perfection happens when you do your gift well, over and over and over again, and evolve it, and build on it. And so I am not someone to say right off the bat you ought to be perfect. As for myself, um, if I picked up my very first book that I wrote and I read it myself, I'm like, ugh, what was I thinking? People like it and people enjoy it, but for me, I'm just like, man, but there's has to be a growth. And with that growth will come, I guess, your own interpretation of perfection. But there's always going to be a growth. There's always something that you can do better and build on, or kind of grow towards. So, um, I think that's what makes it more confidence necessary than I need to be perfect. Um, it's kind of building on who you are and what you bring to this world.
oh yeah, because when I started podcast, I would one of the reasons I wasn't releasing stuff is because again you wait. I gotta wait till it's perfect. I gotta wait till,
Oh,
and then it's just I was like, you know what? Yeah, the longer I wait,
yeah,
longer I'm just not gonna do it.
yeah,
So let me just record. And so my first episode was like 7 minutes, right? And I just uploaded it because that lifted this weight off of me. Like it was like,
yeah.
okay, I can do this. Like, all right, I can release a podcast, and
Mhm.
it's evolved. It's
Yep.
it's grown. It's grown from where it was at to now,
Yeah.
and I'm improving with each episode. I'm
Yeah.
learning and growing. So
I'm gonna shout out my husband. So he's learning how to do video editing, and I do know how to video edit. And I was like, dude, release the video already. Like, he's like, no, I could do this, and I was like, there's always gonna be something that you.
yeah, yeah.
There's always gonna be something that you can,
Mhm. And that's something I've learned. uh,
just
Like audio and video editing is something that I've learned because of the podcast, right? I've been able to monetize that. Like I've been able to do side gigs for people, so it's been beneficial. But the reason I learned all these skills is because I had no other like I didn't know anybody who was an editor, or I didn't know anybody who was podcasting. I didn't
Mhm.
know any of these things, so it took me going to YouTube University, doing research, learning about what software, what like
Mhm.
I use Audacity, right? Everybody wants to use like Audacity is my go to, and it's free. It's a free software,
Mhm.
and that's where I started editing my audio. So, yeah, I paid for some stuff for the video aspect of it, but as far as my audio, I was doing it with Audacity,
Mhm.
and that's where I learned how to take out the ums and the ahs, and how to improve the sound, how to raise the volume when if the recording was low or whatever it was. It was just like, you know what, let me just learn this, and whatever comes from it, and it just happened that people don't like editing, so they're always hiring someone else to do it. So
I hate
yeah,
editing.
yeah,
But here's the thing, if you didn't release that first one, you didn't know where to grow from there. You constantly fixing it. Just release it. And then your next one is gonna be better and you keep building
mhm.
from there, you
Yeah,
know?
and that's how it went. Yeah. And if you go back and just listen to the first few episodes and then listen to what I've been releasing lately on the audio side of it, you're
Mhm.
like, damn, it's like night and day. It's just I've learned how to interview much more better because I of course I'm doing it much more frequently now. But
Yeah.
it was just it's with anything, the more repetition you get at it, the better you get at it, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So it took me some time to develop my interviewing skills and learn how to really learn how to structure a show. Like
Yeah.
that's something I didn't know, but of course, with time and conversations
Mhm.
and networking, which is something very important that I'm always talking about, networking
Yes.
and connecting with people that are doing what I want to do and
Mhm.
learning from them and being able to pick their brains and be like, hey, what did you do here to make this work?
Yeah.
And I've been blessed that the people that I've connected with are more than willing to share that
Yeah.
knowledge.
That's a confident person right there.
Yeah.
That they're willing to share their knowledge and not think like, "Oh my goodness, if I share all of what I know, then his is gonna be better." You're confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, and I don't mind sharing some knowledge
Hmm.
for the next person. That's why I am a children's book coach as well. So I do help people write their book and kind of think through the process of what's being. And I'm not to so much be a pun, but what is stuck in my head and
Hmm.
get that out on paper. And are you writing it for children or are you writing it as an adult? Down to children, or are you trying to be at their same level? So
Oh no. So like I said, in October, I helped this young lady release her children's book. I did the illustrations for it and everything. But she had like my wife had heard me and she had known that I've been working on publishing books and all this stuff. And this young lady worked at the shop, and she was talking to my wife about, yeah, I want to write a book. I got this little short story that I want to turn into a children's book. And my wife goes, well, you need to speak to my husband. She's like, what? My wife's like, yeah, speak to my husband. And we spoke. I said, all right, send me what you have. And she sent it to me. And of course it was short, whatever. It was cute. It was nice. And I added a little bit more to it, and then I added the illustrations to it, and I sent it to her. And then just it made her cry because she
mm,
had been wanting to do this for so many years, right? And she didn't know where to start. She didn't. And me learning what I've learned this past year as far as publishing and all that, it was just like, okay, let me just help you. Let me do this for you and help you release this book. And so that being able to do that and help someone fulfill something like a dream of theirs, that like that brings this ultimate feeling to me, like, damn, I did something that I was supposed to do. This
yeah,
is what this is what I was supposed to do. Like
yeah,
help this person do this and experience this in their life. That to me is like that's so rewarding to me.
yeah. I think you got them to a point that they had this thing that they've always wanted to do, but there was this excuse in the middle, and
Mhm.
you kinda help bridge the gap by being the illustrator to get them to, like, "Here's the pain, and I wanna write this book, I've got this story, but I don't know how to get to
Yeah.
here." And you help be the bridge. And I think that's important that um, for parents, educators, publishers, whatever it may
Whatever
be,
it is, yeah.
whatever it is, that we help people get from where that bridge to get them to, kind of their goal and what they struggle with, their struggle and get them to their goal. So
Yeah.
kudos to you. I like it.
So what legacy do you hope your work leaves behind?
Ooh, what legacy? That's a good question. So I think the legacy that I want left behind is that people who either encounter me or read my books, that they see their purpose, they see um, that their gift, or even kind of whatever they're struggling with, whether it's depression or grief, or understanding that, if they have a fear, that they can face their fear, or they can do whatever it is that their goal is. My last series is called I Am Made. So it means I am motivated, affirmed, determined, and empowered. And so the books that's in there is teaching kids about being unstoppable. So the legacy is that I want you to know that you are unstoppable. Another book is called Finish Strong, that even in the midst of having an embarrassing moment, you're gonna keep going and finishing and get to whatever that goal is. And then also, don't change who you are. If this is who you are, take the gifts that you have, shine with it. Kind of don't modify your gift for someone else. Take what you have, take what you've been given, and shine. Publish that book, do the podcast, write, do whatever it is that you have been given to do, and do it. Don't hide your gift, don't hide your skills. Because in all honesty, you can either put the gift out there now or go through a bunch of stuff only to still, because it's still gonna you're gonna it's gonna you can either go straight and do it, or you can go through the mulberry bush and down the road and up the hill, and you're still gonna because your purpose is gonna have to shine out. It's gonna shine regardless. So
Yeah.
that's the legacy.
Awesome, awesome. We've come to the part of the show where you're gonna get the spotlight and you're gonna plug away and let everybody know where they can get the books, everything.
Okay. So, yes, my name is Dorian Stewart, and I am an author, a motivational speaker, and a book coach, children's book coach. You can find any of my 19 books on Amazon, or you can go to my website, which is a lot easier, and go to www.dorianinspires.com. That's Dorian Inspires, Inspire.com. And again, do what you have been called to do. You have an amazing gift, and it is our goal and my wish for this new year, as you move into your new resolution, that you do the gift, or do the gift or the purpose that has been placed in you. Don't be afraid to do that.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest. But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and we'll talk a little bit off the air. But thank you so much for being a guest. I've had a a great time. This was a wonderful conversation. Hopefully people can get something from it. But thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That is another great episode is in the books. If today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on the words you're using with yourself and with the people you're raising or leading. Connect with Dorian Stewart, explore her books, and support the work she's doing to build confident, purpose-driven lives. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with a parent, educator, or mentor who needs this message. We don't just raise children, we raise futures. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Tony, thank you. Happy holidays. Shout out to you and your family. Blessings to all of you. This was awesome. I had a great time. Thank you, Dorian, for stopping by. Love it. Love the fact that what you're doing, man, it's amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. And your boy Wize does it. Peace out.